everything you need to know about products and services that can improve your life. This is Experts on Call on CL 650.
Painted black. Like this is for you, Dave.
Yeah,
painted black. We have our experts here from StrataLife. Drew Grout, we heard in the last segment, Key Pacific Property Management. We also have Richard Lobb here, President of High Tech Water Management. And now up we have Dave Humphreys, Operations Manager, Remdahl Painting and Restoration. Now, Dave, when you have worked on a strata building and you are being hired to go in there, does it typically mean that you have to have an engineer look at it first? Or can you just hire a company like yours to do work without having a sort of a second opinion on it?
Yeah, no, great question. Great question. We often can come in and provide a specification for painting services for any strata. You don't need to have an engineer or consultant. However, if they are looking to have a project tendered, it's sizable when you think of 100, 150, 200 townhomes. I mean, it's a sizable in the hundreds of thousands project. It's probably important to have some assurance that the tender process is fair. So you've got different companies bidding, different people potentially contacting them, asking them, can you just come in and paint our place? Well, there's different coatings, there's different levels of preparation. Did you want to have
different levels of paint quality?
Different, exactly. So
I know that from painting my own house. It's like you have the A, B's, and C's, right?
You do. So we've picked a standard with the MPDA, which is the MPI standard, Master Painters Institute. They test paint and they give it a rating, and it qualifies or it doesn't. So we install that MPI number with all the paints that we use for and recommend for our projects, and that way they can go online and test the reliability of that product and see the results.
Yeah, because we have a lot of buildings in British Columbia here where they have, they have frame structures on the outside, a lot of decorative painting and stuff.
And different composite materials. I mean, now we've gone through stucco through the 80s was a big hit. Now we're finally getting back. Vinyl siding was a hit. For a while, it's still used quite large amounts. We're into the hardy siding, paneling.
Can that hardy siding or hardy board is concrete coated composite material, right?
It is a cementitious baseboard, yeah.
Yeah. So can that be painted?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Because it comes pre-colored, right?
You can order it in their hardy in the trademark sells theirs in a pre-painted unit, but most of the time, once it's installed, it still needs another coat of paint because it's now been handled or left in the mud, or it's got nail holes
and fillers and all that kind of stuff.
You name it, yeah.
Okay, so from your side, from the painting and restoration, what is the proper maintenance? What are the things that should be looked for and paid attention to with the council?
Definitely areas where we're seeing the weather. We do live in a rainforest. We were talking about water earlier. This is on the outside of the building now, so. You want to
just to jump in quickly because I spoke to a woman who was involved with landscaping, and she said we have a very unique climate here in British Columbia. We have a rainforest through most of the year, but we also can suffer really long drought periods in the summer. It's not uncommon to have 100 days of no rain in the summer. So you have the extreme wet and then the extreme heat, which does stuff to paint too, right?
Yeah. So you're looking at different effects to different elevations of a building, and it'll affect a townhouse complex or apartment building different than it will a high-rise. But you're right. So we've got a wood-sided building, and it's going to see saturation, humidity levels that are high, water absorption into that wood through the fall, winter, spring months, and then we get a 2 or 3 month dry spell where that wood just dries out, it shrinks. Those coatings that are on that wood go through an incredible amount of expansion, contraction, and eventually through breakdown of UV and whatnot, start to fail. They start to crack first, and then eventually a bit of moisture gets in. You'll see the painting start to peel. At that point, basically that coating has failed and it's not protecting the substrate any longer.
So is the paint the first layer of protection against water for a building? Like you have these, what is it, polyelastomeric? Did I get that right?
We have, well, there's elastomeric products.
Yeah.
So
Tell me I got it right.
Yeah, multi is a fine word to throw in there. But elastomeric, there are different grades of elastomeric products.
And that's basically, it has the ability to expand and contract.
Much more flexural strength,
and keeps water out and lets water escape, right?
Yep. So they refer to that as perm rating, and that's vapor transmission. So it's not going to allow running water to flow through it, but like a Gore-Tex jacket, you can perspire a little inside, and that vapor will transmit out of the fabric, but rainfall on the outside will also shed. So there's some great elastomeric, highly breathable elastomeric products out there on the market, and so there's great acrylic paints. And depending on the surfaces that you're preparing, you've got, you know, primarily wood, stucco, some steel substrates, and other components of the buildings like that that you need to protect. So they all need to have different systems. So I'll take us back to your first question, which was, do you need an engineer? And the answer to that is maybe, or a consultant, someone that's going to actually ensure that the contractors that you're asking to bid on a project understand the different substrates and the different processes they need to go through for their renewal of their coatings.
All right, we're talking about strata living, and a big part of that is having an outdoor space, and people have a balcony or in your condo, and typically it has that sort of rubberized finish on it that allows the water to run off, or should be running off, and it's kind of shiny, right?
Yeah.
So is it to maintain that shiny coating? Is that the main thing?
Yeah, so that's a polyurethane coating. It's
Roll-on?
Roll-on, cold applied. So unlike, say, hot roofing, but it is a waterproof membrane that would go over, and it can be on your wood structures, so your townhouses and whatnot. You could have it on a wood frame deck, and we also would put it on a concrete balcony on a high-rise as well. Again, preventing the water from getting into the substrate.
So you can put it on wood?
We can put it on wood frame decks. Yep.
Really? I should try that on my deck.
You tape the joints, so it's comparable to, and thickness-wise as well. Once it's applied, it's comparable to vinyl decks thickness. So you look at 60 mil fleece back vinyl decks that some people have.
And some strata units have those too.
That's right. The beauty of the urethane is that it's repairable. Oftentimes, if your dog goes up and tears a strip of your vinyl, you're left replacing your entire deck.
Right. Okay. So,
yeah,
what is the difference between a deck and a balcony?
Balcony would be a suspended projecting slab from a structure. Usually incorporates a guardrail on at least one and possibly up to three sides.
They're usually concrete?
Usually concrete, but again, wood frame. You get townhouse complexes where you have a second floor balcony that might project over the carport entry or something like that. So it doesn't usually have living space underneath it or above it. It's a projection out.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So that would be a balcony if you wanted to refer to that. Patio or a deck would refer to something that's either on grade or at the rooftop. So penthouses in high-rises often have it's a hard surface, either whether it's on grade or at the roof. Usually it's a hard surface, and in the case of a high-rise, you'd have a roofing membrane underneath it, and they often put patio paver stones on top of that to allow drainage to the roof. But
so then you're involving the roofing people too, right? Because they're flat, right?
Yeah,
flat roofs, and
that's right. So you know that's all part of the envelope that we have to consider when we're doing work, be it sealant work, flashing work. We don't do roofing work ourselves, but maybe that part of the issue incorporates some issue with the roofing as well. But where we move into it is our balconies on the high rises, those projecting slabs where they need to be protected. That concrete, everybody thinks I've got a concrete frame building. Done.
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything else. Concrete needs just as much protection over the years as any other substrate, and it's going to enhance and prolong the life of that structure.
So you see all these concrete towers. We all know the downtown is full of towers. So should those be painted? Or are they just left gray?
Yes, so some of them are painted gray to look like concrete. Mostly you'll find the older buildings that are still left in their original concrete state. Some that are well built have survived the test of time, although weather and the minerals that come in our rainfall and acid rain and environmental fallout from industry all can attack the concrete surface. And the big issue there, and we find it now on the newer buildings because the tighter engineering, is that it attacks the reinforcement bar that's within the concrete.
Yeah, because you don't want the water to get in and then it rusts, right?
That's right. And as soon as that rusts, it expands. The oxidization causes expansion of those minerals. That pops concrete off, and that's one of the biggest things we deal with throughout our year.
So if you could just go into BC Place Stadium and paint the inside, because they spend all that money on the roof, it's beautiful, and then you walk down and it's got these ugly concrete walls. They could have painted it.
They could have painted it. I mean, that would require for inside there probably some additional finishing, filling of bug holes and whatnot. It's a very serviceable finish on the interior of a building in the sense that you
just leave
maintenance
it, right?
is clean it. Okay,
yeah.
Clean it again.
It would be an aesthetic thing.
It's an aesthetic thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They spent all that money on the building. They couldn't have thrown up some
throw
paint.
a coat of paint on.
All right.
Definitely the outside they'd want to see some protected areas. So.
All right. So you're obviously on these patios and decks and what have you, and you must see drains that are clogged. And what is your suggestion there?
We do. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I see. If we want to touch back on the 2, 5, 10-year warranty system as well that Drew touched on, is it's really key for Stratus to know the structure of that warranty and the insurance provider that's behind that warranty to know what maintenance items they need to do to keep that warranty active.
It's like your car. If you don't take it in for an oil change every 6,000 or 8,000 K, whatever it's supposed to be, then your warranty can be voided, right?
That's correct. So again, it's the same thing. Something as simple as checking drains. Now, not every drain's on a balcony, but a rooftop patio of a building. People think it's their space, but it's limited common property for the most part. If I'm correct, Drew?
Often,
yeah. But so they don't think to maintain it. The Strata Council doesn't necessarily have access directly to it or easily to it, but underneath those hard surface pavers are drains and other things that weeds growing, all sorts of things that get on the roof of a high-rise that need to be addressed, and they need to maintain those things. And part of that is recording that information for their warranty purposes as well.
Now, painting is prepping is a huge part of painting. As somebody who's painted my house inside and out several times, the prep, it takes longer often than the painting, and caulking is a huge part of prepping the building for water around windows. That's a big part of your business, right?
Yeah. So again, water ingress being an issue. I mean, the caulking, it's usually a urethane caulking. There are some silicone caulkings as well that we would use on the exterior of a building. But we're talking about a significant bead of caulk. It's usually between 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch standard gap around where windows would meet the concrete surface, or in a townhouse it might be wood to vinyl. It's dissimilar surfaces that you need to allow to move independently but maintain a watertight seal. So it definitely is your first line of defense. So
you're saying that the obviously expansion and contraction, moisture and drying, the window frame is doing that at a different rate than the other materials?
That's right. If you've got vinyl windows, they're going to expand and contract at a different rate than the wood substrate they're adjacent to, or aluminum windows that are set into a concrete frame building. All those items move independently and will react differently through their heat and cool cycles.
All right, I just have one last question. It's a personal one. I see these houses with these really ugly windows, and they're either aluminum or vinyl. Can they be painted?
They can be.
Can the aluminum? Because I have a neighbor. I shouldn't say this. He's got really ugly windows.
Now they know.
Like,
nothing a stone can't fix.
Are they watching? Are they listening?
Like, can you paint them?
You can. I mean, I always encourage people to maintain their original factory finish as long as they can, because once you do paint something, I mean, there's some excellent products out there now, but once you do paint it, it does enter into a service life, and you're into a service cycle then of maintaining that.
Service cycle is better than ugly.
True.
You're talking about the actual frame of the window, right?
Yeah.
Not the trim boards around it.
No, not the trim. No, the actual where the glass meets the metal. Or
you got to be careful if you do that, because you got weep holes in there that are designed to let water out of tracks and things. So if you paint over and block those, you can
get a lot of moisture
problem
in there.
inside.
Oh, okay, good. That's why I have the experts here. Right from you. I'd say I'm going to knock on his door. Hello, I got a suggestion for you. Call Dave. Dave Humphreys, Operations Manager, Remdahl Painting and Restoration. This is StrataLife. We've talked about pinhole leaks. We talked about issues with strata councils and also painting and restoration of the outside of buildings. And we'll continue the conversation next here on CL 650.
This is Experts on Call on CL 650.